Welcome to this episode of Tea of Life podcast. I am Tiffany, your host, and today we have Garrett Holcombe. And Garrett is the president of the Horizon Planning Group Incorporated. And Garrett is known for having a heart of a teacher when it comes to his clients, and he currently serves clients across the United States. And Garrett is also a SmartVestor professional with Dave Ramsey, and he and his wife Amber have been together since 2010. And they have two wonderful children. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that, Garrett?
That's right. My wife and I fostered. We did foster care for 2.5 years. And our two kids, we adopted them in June of 2018. So we're a complete family. You know, we're not the traditional family, I guess you could say, but we're certainly a loving one.
That's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, if, you know, we know you guys, we know your whole family and spend a lot of time together. And I didn't know that from the beginning. And it's not a dynamic that, you know, when you see you guys, it's not a dynamic that you kind of go, oh, you know, I wonder. But no, I mean, you guys are just, you know, a complete family. And it's just an amazing dynamic that you guys have.
Well, thank you. No, they're amazing kids, and we couldn't be more blessed, certainly. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we all kind of, it almost seems like they've been with us our entire lives. So, you know, it's one of those things when their personalities are such and so much fun and everything. And seeing, you know, I've been told that you get the kids you deserve. You know, especially parents will tell you that, grandparents will tell you that. And it's interesting how, you know, even if they're not biologically yours, you absolutely get the kids you deserve. So I've dealt with a lot of the things that I put my own parents through. I'll be talking to my dad, and he'll say, you know, I'll explain something that my son or my daughter did, and he just laughs and laughs and laughs. He's like, oh gosh, you know, he's like, I'm just so sorry for you. So it's been a lot of fun, but at the same point in time, you know, they're my two are my parents' first grandkids, so they've been just having a ball with them. So that's funny. I can see that. That's awesome. And you see the personality come out in them too. You know, they're not biologically ours, but you know, kids really pick up our personalities as parents and our humor and things like that. So it's funny to see just in the 4 years they've been with us, that you know, they've really taken on a lot of our personality traits as well.
Yeah.
Good and bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, that goes back to your dad laughing at you.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you've had problems with lying? Say it ain't so, son.
I know, right? And you don't realize like what kind of person you are until you start seeing that same behavior in your children. And then you start getting onto them and they're like, well, Mom, I saw you do that. Or, you know, you can start seeing yourself in them and you're like, oh my gosh.
It is a stark day, and you remember it the rest of your life when you hear your parents' words come out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, that did not just come out of my mouth. Because when you're a teenager, you swear, oh, I'm never going to treat my kids this way. I'm never going to do this to my kids. And then suddenly you have kids and you're like, you know, my parents were really smart. And it's amazing how as you get older, the smarter your parents have become.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a drastic and humbling learning curve. But as you know, I'm the most humble person you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I've had those same conversations with Gabriel, our firstborn, and you know, he's already told us about things. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that when I have kids. And I just giggle and laugh, you know, because I see, you know, I do things that I swore I would never do, just like you said. And
oh yeah.
Yeah. So we just repeat that over and over again. So I stalked your Facebook page.
It's a fun one.
And under details about Garrett, you have some favorite quotes. And I'd like to share one of those right now, if you don't mind.
Please.
They're all great, but one really stood out to me. I think that we can probably all apply it to our current situation. And it was actually kind of funny. It was like a quote that I thought, okay, you know, I'm like into it. And then the very end just kind of made me laugh. It was like a giggle. So I think that it's truly applicable right now. I mean, I think it's been applicable for a long time, but truly right now. So it says, political correctness is a doctrine fostered by a delusional, illogical minority and rapidly promoted by an unscrupulous mainstream media, which holds forth the proposition that it is entirely possible to pick up a piece of poop by the clean end. And there wasn't a contribution as to where that quote came from. And I looked it up, and it's like everywhere, but it doesn't seem like anybody really knows where it came from. But yeah, would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
I've tended to be diplomatic in my young adulthood, and as I've gotten older, I realized that diplomacy doesn't necessarily always benefit me in trying to convey my point. And it's kind of a soft political correctness, if you will. You know, there's certain things that, you can say and you can't say. And, really we tiptoe around, especially down here in the South, where there's just general politeness things that you're supposed to observe and whatnot. But I have always been blunt, and I use humor to kind of diffuse people to kind of, it's like, the white gloved pearl clutching offense that some people take to whether it be humor or things you say. But, it really comes down to the fact that the truth is the truth, no matter what you do, no matter how you dress it up, no matter how soft and easy hitting you try to make it. In all reality, I don't like that political correctness of, trying to tiptoe around things that sometimes just need to be said. That's kind of me in a nutshell. I love that quote because, it's just impossible. It doesn't matter what the media tells you, what's out there. We're back into kind of almost a yellow journalism situation that we had in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s with, the Spanish-American War and, the newspapers kind of forcing us into war and stuff like that. Now we've got, public opinion being fostered and shaped by a media that's not giving you all the facts. So, I actually agree with Governor Cuomo from New York. He says, I like the facts. Give me the facts, and we can formulate opinions later. Well, that's kind of the same way. I really agree with that. I like that idea that, don't tip around, and dance around the bush with me. Just tell me the facts. I can deal with it. I'm an adult. And, if I get offended, that's a me problem. That's not a you problem.
Absolutely. Yes, that is so true. Right. I mean, we could have a whole discussion on that one sentence.
And I mean, just look at social media out there in this, Corona world that we're experiencing, and how it's become very binary. Mm-hmm. Either, you want to kill grandma or you care about everyone else. It's either or, which of course, there's nuances to everything and, different opinions and whatnot. And, binary options there are pretty horrendous when you kind of look at it from that perspective. It's like, well, no, of course I want people to be able to go back to work and, be able to kind of pick up life where it was. But at the same point in time, we need to be careful. I mean, it's not a either or kind of world. It's very much a Venn diagram of many different circles that overlap.
Right.
So, and here we are, now it's, at least as of Friday, I guess, things are going to start opening back up in Georgia, and, there's cheers and there's jeers. Some people are never going to be happy about any options, but I guess it really comes back down to personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
You have to do what's right for you and your family.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that I've kind of fallen into a little bit of the political correctness category when I start posting stuff on Facebook, and I have to take a little bit of a step back because I'm like, I probably should not put that. I've asked my husband a couple of times, do you think this is appropriate? And his first answer is, well, if you have to ask, then it's, then it's probably not. So, so I've had to back off a little bit on that. But I mean, we all have our opinions. We all have our, and we're all coming at this from our own personal angle, what, our past, our present, our future hopes and dreams, all those things. And everybody's different in that. So, But at the same time, I feel like there's really no blanket, like right or wrong for everyone. Like there is no blanket right and there is no blanket wrong for everyone. But I feel like we all need to also take our own personal responsibility in this and not constantly put it on somebody. Well, they won't let us, or they've told us this, or they, this, that, and the other, and not taking a personal responsibility for yourself and your own family. And, we could continue on with this.
I have strong opinions, and as you've seen on my Facebook page, I didn't have a problem sharing them, but I've backed off a bit just because of the ire that it draws, and it makes you a target. I don't want to. I certainly believe that you can get some. You've heard of medical malpractice. I believe there's a mental malpractice that comes into that as well. When you open yourself up to that kind of negativity, it can affect you. And you, especially now, you can carry it with you. So I'm being very careful to kind of guard against that mental malpractice from people who, and it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's well-meaning,
Right.
People are concerned or worried, but it's real easy to say some things and for people to be kind of chiding and rude online because I think there's some level of anonymity that goes with it. But that doesn't exist in social media, that
Right.
anonymity. This is someone that you care about. I've lost friends over this, and that kind of made me realize, there's strong opinions, but on all sides, and I'm respectful of those opinions, even if I disagree with them. But I'm finding that mentality is not shared by many people. So if you don't agree,
Right.
then you're wrong, and I'm going to prove you wrong, and you have to be excised from my life.
And I'm going to attack you in the process.
Right. Right. So there's a level of protection for, me and my family that I have to take in that, I'm not as forthcoming now on the social media as I was. I try to keep it more, lighthearted, but at the same point in time, I'll throw some jabs in there here and there just because I'm me and I can't help myself. But overall, you have to, again, that personal responsibility isn't, it comes from many facets. It's not just, my actions in regards to a virus or something going on outside. It's also my actions online, so
Right.
It really applies everywhere.
Right, absolutely. Well, I know that there's many people that I have hit that unfollow for 13 days or 30
Yes.
days. You've seen that. That's
Yes.
like my absolute favorite button on the entire internet. Unfollow for 30 days.
Yes.
Or unmute for So but you're not one of those people that I have unfollowed, just to let you know that you haven't made that list. So
Well, that's good.
But it's mostly
if I get muted by you, then I've done something bad wrong.
Well, I mean, it's mostly the people who, and it's not necessarily the people who want to express their opinions. We all have that right. We all have the right to express our own opinions. It's the people who, like I said, attack in retrospect of those opinions. And and that's the people that I'm like, I can't do that. I just have to unfollow.
Well, and it's a protection to you too. That's really what it's about. You're protecting yourself from that.
Boundaries, healthy boundaries,
Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So I wanted to have Garrett on today for a few different reasons. And obviously to get your insight on these particular questions that I have and your point of view. But I also wanted to take a chance to introduce you to my audience because I plan on having you on again to talk about other financial matters and mainly the student loan crisis that we are currently in and have been in for a very long time. And we're not going to talk about those today, but I want our audience to kind of, be anticipating that because I really want to have you on to talk about those things, especially right now. People are planning for fall. I guess right now, like they don't even know what to plan for fall, considering our current situation, which throws another, another wrench or category into the whole, like trying to figure things out. But just the student loan crisis in general it's a horrible situation that I feel like it's partially illegal to actually have the student loan, to allow our students to actually take on these loans. But we're going to talk about that later.
I've got so much to add. I know. I can't wait for that show.
I know.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
So I want our audience to stay tuned for that and, be able to get some informative insight on how dangerous those actually are. And so I sent a few questions to you in order to get a feel for where you really are in our current situation. And as you guys know, we talked about this already in the show, that we're currently in shutdown for the coronavirus. Although, I hear that it's going to be lifted on Friday.
To an extent.
Partially. Yeah. So, but I just want to get a feel for where people are at this moment after so many weeks of being held captive and so many weeks of being shut into their home. And so I'm asking the same questions to each of my guests during this particular series. So I want to get a feel for where everybody is in these particular, with these particular questions and how these things are affecting you and your family.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So the first thing I ask everybody, and I know that we can kind of know that just by looking at you, but I just want to make sure, because I don't want to be insensitive, and assume, but are you okay? And do you feel like you're hanging in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. We're fine. Myself, certainly. I'm in the office every day. I still I could work from home, but my kids are at home. We have limited, that many people on the internet, as a lot of folks know, has put a strain on things, and then it all falls apart. So I still go in the office every day. We're financial services. We're considered essential. So, no issues there. I actually have a letter of transit that I got from my foster agency, because we still provide respite care in our foster agency, but a letter saying that, we can go out and shop or do essential things because we're foster home. So it's a crazy world we live in. But yes, we're okay. We're our lives really haven't changed all that much, to be honest with you, other than not being able to go to my favorite Mexican restaurant. And oh my gosh, it's awful. That's the worst part. I know there's so many people that have it so much worse than me. So I recognize my blessings. I'm so grateful for that. But our lives have really not been altered all that much. We can still go to the store. We try to keep it, essential visits, the normal thing, not try to go multiple times just because it's a nightmare, because, those stores still only have limited lanes open. But overall, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm happy. I'm still humble. So.
Excellent. So do you have enough toilet paper?
Yes.
How many times have you had to buy toilet paper during this time?
We bought it once, I think in March, and we were able to find, the big pack or whatever. But let me in on you. Let me overshare with you.
Okay. Absolutely.
2 Christmases ago, I had a themed Christmas gift from my wife. It was all, water closet related. Keep this PG. So it came with a squatty potty, and it came with one of those little under the seat bidets, right? So I've had one of those for a while. I won't name it because, I don't want to, sponsors and everything. But the absolute best thing. My kids, my wife are like, oh gosh, so off-putting. And it is, not going to lie, absolutely off-putting until you get used to it. But it's cold.
I was going to say, is it cold? It's cold water.
It's from the fresh water line of the toilet. Not heated. No, not heated. But it has absolutely cut down on, the usage. So we really haven't been using all that much. It's an interesting thing too. Let me say this. We had my parents and actually the skipper from our ship come up for dinner on Sunday. We had this real big kind of steak grill out and everything. And instead of bringing wine, because you always when you come to someone's house, you always bring a gift. They brought toilet paper. I mean,
I thought you were going to say they brought a bidet.
No.
To install.
Actually, now what perfect gift for when the corona is over and the quarantine lifts. What perfect house gift when you come over and you visit your friends for the first time than to bring toilet paper.
Absolutely, but I'm thinking white elephant, like for this. I'm thinking the bidet would be amazing white elephant gift for.
Perfect. Could you imagine how many people fight over that?
But this past fall, my friend called me. April, she used to be the host of of Tea of Life podcast with me. She lives across the street. And she called me and she said, do you have, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the plumber's wrench. And so, and I said, yeah, we have one. She said, okay, we're trying to install a bidet and we can't get it unscrewed. Can you? So I took it over there and her husband was doing something else. So she and I actually took apart the toilet and installed her bidet for her. So she called me at the beginning and she was like, if you need to use our bidet, you're more than welcome to. I'm like, okay.
Yes. I've, it's funny. I saw them and I thought, wow, that'd be really cool. And years ago, I said, this is really cut down on toilet paper usage. And sure enough, I was prepared.
That's absolutely amazing.
So yeah, I'm one of the treasured few who can avoid that. So yeah, doing pretty good. A little, cold behind, but other than that, we're good.
Woo. Okay. So, all right. So you've kind of answered this already, but you can go into a little bit more detail if you'd like to. But how has life changed for you in the past few weeks?
Sure. So the biggest thing is really through the kids. My daughter was in marching band, and after marching band went into Winter Guard, and their competitions were shut down. They're both in scouting. So as the scouting's really kind of shut down on the council and national level. So they're just not seeing their friends. My son's in private school. My daughter's in public school. Her school ends May 8th, but my son's actually doesn't end until June. So yes. So they're maintaining their year, and which, you paid for it, so you might as well get it, right? But it's a great school. We love his private school, but that's been the biggest thing, I think, is the friendships for my kids, and they've done really well. I mean, I'm so proud of them. They really haven't complained, hardly at all. I mean, it's just, and they have probably every right to,
right.
But no, they've been great. From a personal standpoint, yeah, not much. But from a business standpoint, I've got some business owner clients that are struggling, and I'm doing my best to really kind of help them navigate, the payroll protection and those payments, as well as the small business association stuff. I've got a couple that are worried, and I've got one that's really struggling. So this kind of partial soft reopen that we should have this later, later on and soon, should be very helpful for them. And but yeah, I mean, otherwise, it's kind of been business as usual, life as usual.
How has schooling at home changed your perspective of the school system that your child usually attends?
Oh boy, we would need a whole show. My son's private school has been great. He usually has 3 core classes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because they can do some homeschool hybrids. But my wife and I both work, so he's also there Monday and Friday. Monday is additional learning days and things like that. Friday, they'll go on a field trip, something that's coincides with science or social studies or math, and they'll incorporate that into it. So we love his school. I mean, just love his school. They're fantastic folks, and I can't praise his private school enough. My daughter's school, on the other hand, she goes to public high school in Cherokee County here, and the online learning is a complete joke. I know teachers have, this was thrust upon them, and they're kind of doing the best they can. But, I've spoken with several teachers, and they say that it's not the same. It's almost quasi busy work to have some kind of grade to help kids that may need to pull it up. The kids who are really kind of higher in their classes this is no challenge. They're learning nothing. So if we could homeschool, if we could, we would absolutely, without a, hesitation. The biggest thing keeping us from that is she loves to march. She loves the marching band, and it's no knock against the homeschool marching band, but they're just not the same. It's not the same. I was in marching band when I was in public high school, loved it. And I know it's a camaraderie like no other. And, that's really the only thing kind of keeping her in public school, admittedly. Otherwise,
right.
and it's so funny to say that because, academics are always first and foremost. She's got AP classes. She's in all honors classes with everything else. So, I mean, she's already really top of her class. Um, I can't use this analogy. I'm going to get edited. So,
It's
you know,
okay.
the
Go for
white
it.
speck on the top of chicken poop.
Mm-hmm.
It's still chicken poop.
Right.
So, being first in your class in a public school, and again, no offense to everybody, someone's going to get offended.
It's okay.
That's a you
I offend
problem.
people about public school, homeschooling, like all the
Yeah,
time. It's okay.
but when it comes to public school, if so what, you're top of your class at public school, you know, you're you might get into college, you might get scholarships, great, but your education is abysmal. It's just flat out abysmal. It was for me. It still is today. And I think honestly, that's why we have a lot of, and the school system's not doing anyone any favors. Too many
Right.
people going to college, but we'll save that for the other show.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we can save that. We can totally have another conversation about that. But I think, the colleges they're recognizing that, and they're
Yeah.
realizing that it is a problem. So yeah, we can expand on that
Absolutely.
more.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, the public school system is, Cherokee's great and all in the state, but I'm not fooled. I'm not fooling myself or anyone else when, I recognize where that compares to my son's education at private school.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about your current work situation and how it's really not changed really at all. Do you think that it's kind of changed your quality of life as far as because you don't have clients coming in and meeting with you on a regular basis? So
Right. Well, I'm one of those rare people that have a low Zoom number because I picked it up earlier this year because, we were going that way. It's one of those things, called intuition, but yeah, doing more online meetings, things like that. When things like this hit, and let's call it what it is. I mean, this is a deep recession, and we'll experience a really deep recession, a depression if we're not careful. But when there are recessions like this, people put their investments and other things on the back burner because they go to kind of their preservation brain. We learn about that in foster care. You have your preservation brain, which we call your lizard brain. You're breathing, you're make sure you're taken care of, and your basic stuff like that. And then you have kind of all the rest. Well, when things like this happen and there's a panic, you immediately go to your lizard brain and you have to kind of get that back under control to kind of operate on all the ancillary issues going on. Financial issues notoriously fall into the ancillary region when recession happens. I tell people, the stock market is the only market people run away from when there's a sale. That's it.
mm-hmm.
And we're experiencing a sale right now. So I try to educate my clients on that fact that, you've got to be able to, not worry. That's why I'm here. That's what people hire me to do, to act when things like this happen. But if you're managing your own money, things like that, it's real easy to panic
Mm-hmm.
and sell low and do the exact opposite of what, that intuition tells us. But the reason we can't follow that logical sense is because we're operating in that lizard brain, that back of the brain, self-preservation mode that, forces us to do things that are against our own best interest,
Right.
financially. So we're operating a little differently. The phones don't ring as much, I'm still making trades on a weekly basis. The clients that have money, I'm buying for. Those who were fully invested, we're leaving them fully invested. If we can, try to find things that may be down, or we need to do some tax loss harvesting, something like that, hey, we can take a loss. It's not going to affect our taxes that much. Then we can make sales and then buy something that's low. It's okay. So this is a busy time for me. This is the time where I roll my sleeves up and go full tilt into portfolios to make sure that we're managing them correctly in this downturn. But the big thing right now is just don't panic. That's
Right.
always the best advice that you hear first and foremost. But we sometimes just can't follow it. No matter how hard we try, we can't follow it.
It's so hard. It really is hard. I mean, we have investments too, and we keep watching them, go down and down and down and down.
Mhm.
And And, we keep telling our son, we're like, okay, this was part of your college, so you might have to take a semester off or something. I don't know. But yeah, so but we're hanging in there, and we're just not going to panic, and we're just going to, ride it out as long as we can, and then hopefully recover in the near future.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is that, there's a almost a mental paradigm shift that has to happen. Okay. So yes, we look at our accounts and we're like, wow, I was at, this number, and now, up here, and now I'm at this number down here. But the only thing that's changed is the value. If you haven't sold, then you have the same amount of shares that you had before the big drop, which means when it comes back, you still have the same amount of shares.
Right.
So the only thing that's dropped is the value. You haven't lost anything unless you've sold. You may be down, but you haven't lost. So there's that education piece that we kind of give our clients, in that, yes, you have less money now in your account than you did. That's absolutely correct. Nothing can change that. Nothing. That's cut black. That's the truth. But the difference is you haven't lost any shares. You haven't sold anything. Then you have not realized that loss. That's what we call an unrealized loss. So there's a big education piece that, I kind of talk about and try to educate folks on, in that, it's going to be okay. A little history lesson just briefly is that 08 and 09, when that bottomed out March 1st of 2009, we were back up and above where we were at that bottom before the drop in kind of 07 and 08, a year and a half later.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can be patient, maybe we found a bottom, who knows? It seems that we may have found a bottom here back at the end of March. If we found a bottom, then give it 18 months, give it 2 years. We're going to be back up and above where we were prior to, if maybe equal to, maybe better. But that's the way bear markets work, is that they usually hit hard, mm-hmm. and then they kind of trickle back up. And that's kind of what we're experiencing right now.
Right. And it seems like investments are the only things too that we treat that way. Just like you said, we run away from the sale, but at the same time, people will go and they'll buy a brand new car off the lot. Yeah. And the moment that they drive that car off the lot is worth like 30% less than what they actually paid for it, 20 minutes before. So they don't typically go out and go, oh my gosh, my car is worth less now, I have to sell it. Like, they don't have that mentality, or they buy a house, and, typically houses, rise in value, but sometimes we go through a dip, and the house, the housing market may get lower, and we don't suddenly go, oh my gosh, I just lost like $30,000, or I'm now upside down on my house and I have to go sell my house. It's the same exact thing. It's our asset. It's the same exact thing, but we treat it totally differently than we do investments in the stock market.
Exactly. It's absolutely correct. And that's the thing, is that, a little bit of perspective goes a long way. But there's a lot of people who, don't have that education to understand what is in my best interest when it comes to my investments. Doesn't deviate all that far from what's your best investment when it comes to your house. What's my best, option and decision to make there as well. So it's just, there are different sides of the coin, so to speak, but they can all be affected. But yeah, the debt picture in this country, we have. I can sum it up in one sentence. What's wrong with the debt picture?
Go for it.
We think of things in minimum payment. Can I afford this? Comes down to, well, what's the payment? If you can't afford it with cash, then you probably can't afford it, period. Now, there's a caveat to that, big caveat to that. You may not be there yet. That's where we're trying to get to. If you're not there yet, that's perfectly okay. But it comes down to this mentality of, I can afford that. That minimum payment is only X. Well, right. That's a great thing until there's a financial downturn and suddenly you're like, wow, that $650 truck payment, maybe I can't afford that. Well,
oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all sorts
that just
of stuff.
sent panic like all through my chest just now. I'm just like, I can't breathe.
Yes. And that's the thing. And, again, what I educate through being a smart investor with Dave Ramsey is that you get out of debt, stay out of debt, and then live and give like no one else. And I'm a living example that it works. My wife and I, we paid off $75,000 worth of debt working his system. When we got married, we had 2 homes. Again, blessed. Amber had a townhome and I had a townhome. So we rented one out. And then after a year, because of tax purposes, we sold it. And, we had some pretty good equity in it. So we were able to pay off a lot of stuff. But in doing so, it got us out of debt outside of a mortgage. So, the nice thing about that is that, my cash flow is mine. I get to account and I get to tell every dollar, minus my mortgage, every dollar I make and put it to where I want it to go. It's not spoken for. I don't have to pay anyone else other than my home mortgage. And that's the way to live. When I bought my first car with cash last February, I wanted a Subaru Outback. I've wanted one for so long. I love station wagons, and it's the best station wagon. It's safe. It's great. It's like Volvos used to be, how safe they are. I'm sorry if you have to pay. You need to get Subaru as a sponsor. So I bought that car with cash, and I paid. When I wrote that check, my hand was shaking because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm about to drop $20,000 on this car and I have to write a check for it. And we had allocated it. It's what we had it in our budget. This is what we saved for. It's exactly what I was looking for. I mean, everything came together. But when I saw that money come out of the checking account, it pained me. It hurt. And I told Amber, I said, I've made a huge mistake. We got to take the car back. We got to sell it. It's a huge mistake. When you pay for cash with things, and I tell everyone, use a cash budget. Use a cash budget, because when you pay things with cash, it actually fires pain receptors in your brain. Cash has value.
Absolutely.
That little plastic card, we have no attachment to it whatsoever.
Yep.
But that $20 bill means something to us.
Absolutely.
And when we put that $20 bill down, we know, okay, I'm trading this for whatever it is I'm getting. It better be worth it. I better really want it. So it's hard. It's so hard to operate from a cash budget, but it's so necessary.
It is hard. It's hard. We've done that for a long time too. And it's hard when you see other people not, and you're like, oh, I want that, or I'd like that. Well, we're not in debt. So if we just did, no, we can't, make any kind of compromise because or whatever. So yeah, we're in the same boat. And, we have just our mortgage, which it really isn't that much. As you know, at the beginning of this, Brandon is he's in live audio, like concert. And so we literally sat one day and within 24 hours saw every bit of his work go away, like 100% of his work, like totally disappear. And if we were the normal American, we would be in panic mode.
Absolutely.
But we sat there and we're like, okay, like we have money in savings that will get us by and we're totally fine. And our expenses are minimum. We don't have bills. We don't have, a lot of expenses going out. Like even our home is small. So we have a lower light bill, than a lot of people. We have like our gas bill is not that, so it's like we have small expenses to where we're able to make it on a minimum budget and totally be fine. And we've actually, been peaceful and relaxed and actually have enjoyed kind of some time off together. So,
yeah, no, it's great. And that's the thing is that, most people would not survive a $1,000 to a $1,500 bill.
Right.
Period. And there's actually a negative savings rate for people under 45. And, negative savings rate. That just blows my mind. But my wife and I, we have a 6-month emergency fund.
Right.
And if all of our income went away, we can cover our expenses for 6 months. And that's if we choose, if there's, no work and we're holding off or waiting, whatever.
Right.
I can go get a job, tomorrow if I needed to.
Right.
Because there are still people hiring, thank goodness. But it comes down to the fact that you have to be able to, have that emergency fund. Dave Ramsey preaches it, just preaches it. You start out with $1,000, pay off your debt, and then build it up to 3 to 6 months. My biggest deviation from Dave is that I think it should be between 6 and 9 months instead of 3 to 6. for just this purpose of what we're experiencing right now.
Right.
But, and I think people will start seeing that going forward. But a 6-month minimum emergency fund is exactly where people need to have to be able to weather this kind of storm.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And I actually would love to continue this conversation with you on another episode as well. Maybe we'll start the Tiffany and Garrett hour or something. I don't know. Pretty soon.
That's awesome. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. This is a blast. This is the first podcast I've ever done. I've thought about, doing something similar, but I appreciate the opportunity to, take over your show, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to have you back because we have a lot to talk about.
I agree.
All right. So I have a few questions for you that I did not add to the list of questions that I pre-sent to you.
Sure.
But these are just kind of like kind of fun, off the cuff. You have the brain thing where you like lift up a piece of paper and you're like, the first thing what do you see here? Or what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this? Okay. So I'm going to ask you these questions and I want to know the first thing that pops in your mind. Now it doesn't have to be serious. It can be just whatever. Okay. Censored, doesn't matter. I just want to know the first thing. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
I can't edit, so we're good.
I am a sailor, so I'm doing good.
Okay. So first thing that pops in your mind. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. And they're really easy. They're not like a big deal, but I just want to know because I've asked these questions before and the array of answers that I've gotten from like two extremes, it's been kind of cool. What is something that you miss the most?
Oh, Mexican food. Tecali Grill.
Bing, 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 bing.
Best Mexican restaurant in Cherokee County.
Oh, we love Tecali Grill.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. We used to go there all the time when we lived up in Canton. Oh, we love that. And then they had one in Woodstock and they closed.
I know. Canton was actually helping the Woodstock one stay open. So it was.
Yeah, we used to live right around over in the mill area when Brandon and I first got married. We rented a house over there. So yeah, it was right across the street. We loved that place.
We're going to have to go. We're going to have to go.
Love that place. Okay, so what do you miss the least?
What do I miss the least? Oh my gosh. What do I miss the least? That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. What do I miss the least? The traffic. Oh my gosh. I live in Canton. I work in Woodstock, and it can still take me sometimes 30 minutes to get home. So
I believe it.
Goodbye traffic. Maybe that's probably the best thing that will come out of this whole viral situation is the fact that so many people know they can work from home, and maybe they won't clog the roads anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah. We've realized that it was most of all the non-essential people who were causing all the traffic problems, right? All the essential people are still going to work and there's no traffic problems whatsoever. Which
is funny because there's, I still see people in the HOV lane when there's no traffic on the regular roads.
Yeah. And Brandon was saying that he was driving the other day and there were people in the, what do you call it? The Peach Pass.
Yeah, the toll lane.
There were people in the toll lanes, like actually paying for their trip down the toll lane. And he was like, there was nobody on the road.
Talk about introverts.
Right. Okay, here's your next question.
Okay.
How many times has Amazon visited your house in the past month?
Oh, my wife is the sole reason for that. I would probably, gosh, you want an accurate count? I'd probably say 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 times. And although, yeah, it's all stuff we probably didn't need. Now that doesn't include all the Audible stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She's been a book fiend, which is fantastic. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, probably 7 times or so. Not too bad, but that's still pretty high.
Okay. All right. So this last question is just for you.
Okay.
How many people have you ever thrown off a boat?
2.
How many people have you almost thrown off a boat?
Oh, that's innumerable. Innumerable. Yeah, I think you were the last one I tried to throw off the bould. White knuckling the bow of the Catalina 22 in winds that we had no business being in. Should have took a reef. I should have took a reef. I knew it too.
I still wish that we had video of that, but that would have been great.
Yeah, so the 2 people that I've thrown off my boat, one was on purpose and one was on accident.
That was my next question.
Yes. So I was in Panama City Beach and a buddy of mine, an Eagle Scout, no less, I was taking him and his cousin out on my NACRA 5.2 meter catamaran, which is a kind of a racehorse. You know, you've seen the Hobie catamarans.
Mm-hmm.
This thing could sail circles around a Hobie any day of the week. And he fell off. He fell off the boat. We did a tack, and he was just not paying attention, and he fell off, and I had to sail back to pick him up. You know, man overboard drills, you do them over and over and over again, practicing them, but they totally work.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually have someone go overboard, you know exactly what to do, and that training kicks in. I was so amazed at myself. I knew exactly what to do. I put people to work, and after the adrenaline wore off, when we got back to shore, you know, you do a debriefing, right? And you kind of replay everything that happened, and I did everything right. So humble, like I said.
That's great.
What can I say? One person, I had a buddy. The other one that I threw off, he was Marine. He didn't like to swim, but he long-time friend, and he went sailing with me, and he was just being a punk. He was just you know, the friends just messing with me. I was like, "Hey, Philip, can you grab this for me?" And he stood up, and I just shoved him off the boat. So, and I don't have a swim ladder on my Catalina, so that I made him get back in on his own. I was
Well, he's a Marine; he can do that.
So yeah, so those are the only two people that I've actually thrown off the boat.
That's hilarious.
You succeeded. You know, we tried our best, but
Nope. Okay, so what have you learned during this period of time that you'd like to carry forward?
That one, I think the biggest thing is that I have learned to extend more grace. You know, I have some pretty strong opinions, and I've shared those online and in person. And I think really, you know, we have to have a patience with others' fears. You know, doesn't necessarily mean we have to give in to them or suffer them for a long period of time, but you know, we have to have a pitiful patience with other people's fears.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've learned that extending that grace has really benefited me, and I will certainly carry that forward.
Excellent. That's great. Love that. So do you think that you have been able to find new adventure during this time?
New adventure. You know, I think the biggest thing, we haven't gone out a whole lot. But I would say the newest adventure that I've really enjoyed is probably getting to know my kids better than I thought I did. We spend so much extra time together. We eat around the dinner table. We do HelloFresh, so we cook, you know, at least 3 times a week. And you know, the laughing and the fun and you know, the anxieties that they had before have kind of melt away in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get to see who they are and their personality and their humor. And, you know, it's such a warming feeling when you realize that your kids are good people.
Mm.
And that you can tell that when they're adults, we're totally going to be friends. You know, my son right now will say, you know, Garrett, are you my friend? And I'm like, no, I'm your parent.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's like, you're not my friend? It's like, no, parents can't be friends until their kids grow up. So that's at least my opinion. And, right. You know, I can just tell that they're just going to be the best. We're going to be the best of friends when they get adults, because they're just phenomenal people, and getting to see and participate more than anything. They let me participate. God love them. You know, what a blessing. What a blessing it is to be able to be on that journey and to see your kids blossom in the face of adversity that, you know, they've experienced way too much in their young ages, you know, what they've been through just in the last 15 years, you think about. Yeah, that's probably been the greatest adventure I've had in a long time.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so great. So what is one thing that you would like to leave everyone with that you hope transforms their attitudes?
Okay. This one's going to be a little deep and heavy. Let me just start off is that it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how dark, how troubled, how easy, or how light things are right now. You're going to be okay. Whether it be job issues, whether it be financial issues, things that I certainly know about. You know, we're going to come out of this. It's going to look different. It's not going to look anything like it used to. But those who are struggling, there's peace coming. Those who are comfortable, reach out to those struggling and give them a hand up. Do what you can to, really be your brother's keeper, I think is the biggest thing that I want people to take away from. I try to do that in my everyday life. It's one of those things that I'm not focused on making money. I'm not focused on, what can I do for me? It's more about how can I help others? How can I bring God to others included? Because this ministry I have isn't just foster care. It's my business. It's my life. My job is to express the teachings of Christ Jesus in everything I do. And if I can help someone get peace of mind, whether they choose to work with me or not, professionally, personally, then I have been enriched. And everyone else has that same blessing that they can impart on others as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what I want people to know is that, supply is met in every way. It was promised us on the Sermon on the Mount. It's been demonstrated for me so many times that, our supply is always met. Our needs are met. That, if there's people struggling out there, there's hands willing to answer, to help. Don't overlook your neighbors, your friends, and your family as an answer to your prayer. Sometimes when you're praying for help, it can come in ways you don't expect. Be open to any way of helping that comes along. There's a joke on that front,
okay.
And I'm sure you've heard it. I think we've talked about it, where there's a flood and the waters are rising, and a truck comes by this man's house and says, "Come on, get in the back of the truck." And he's like, "No, I'm good. God's going to save me." And then the waters get higher, and suddenly, they're on their second floor and they've had to knock a window out. The boat comes by and says, "Hey, come on. Said, no, God's going to save me." Finally, the waters are up. The roof's almost covered. They're on the roof, and a helicopter comes, and the Coast Guard's like, "Come on, we're going to take you out of here." He's like, "No, God's going to save me." Well, the man drowns, and as he's standing in front of God and saying, "God, why didn't you save me?" And God says, "What are you talking about? I sent a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." So be open to that.
Right.
So I think that's the big takeaway from me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. It has been absolutely my honor and absolutely fabulous to talk to you today. And I cannot wait to have you on again. And so maybe we can set this up in the near future and make it a recurring, show.
I'd love that. I had so much fun. Everyone loves to talk about themselves. It is my favorite topic. So whatever you need.
Okay, absolutely.
Whatever you need from me, I'm here to help. Always happy to come back anytime you want.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much, Garrett. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.